All right, welcome back. It's day 2 of your chakra and subtle body training. So today we are moving right up the chakras, and we are on Swadhisthana, or the sacral chakra, located in the pelvic region. So while the first chakra is all about feeling stability and grounding and rooting and your survival, the second chakra is more about pleasure, experiencing enjoyment, and experiencing life through sensation. So these are all attributes of the second chakra, Swadhisthana. Let's go into more detail, but let's set up for seated meditation. So sit with your legs crossed at the middle of the shins. Then rest your hands on your thighs with your palms facing up. We're both seated on blocks, so the block can help to bring your sacrum in and up, since we're working on the sacral chakra, and feel how by drawing the sacrum in and up, it takes energy up your spine. Now you can sit more alert and open. Then close your eyes, and keeping the sacrum moving in and up, let the tension across your inner upper thighs, your groins, release. Then visualize your pelvis in your mind's eye. So often, areas that we hold a lot of tension or strain, we tend to view in our mind's eye as smaller. So just feel yourself expanding into your pelvis. Let the pelvis open, and even imagine you could breathe into the pelvis. So the sacral chakra, Swadhisthana, it's your seat of passion, and it can help to reconnect you to creative energies within your body. This chakra also has to do with feeling, emotion, pleasure, sensuality, intimacy, and connection. So as you shift your focus, just take a moment to feel more connected to your breath, into your pelvis, into your foundation. Feel your breath moving in and out through your nose. And direct your breath, keep directing your breath all the way into the pelvis. Imagine orange, the color orange, like you're breathing orange light through the pelvis. Then gently open your eyes and come into child's pose. So just let the pelvis start to release onto the heels. And as the pelvis drops back, breathe space through the sides of your ribs. Then come up onto the hands and the knees. Round your back and look back at your navel as you exhale. And feel the pelvis tuck under. Then as you inhale, tip your sacrum in and let that curve go up your whole spine. Good, then again, leading with the pelvis, start with the pelvis, tuck the pelvis and round through your back. And as you inhale, arch to your back, wheel your chest forward. Then come into a neutral spine. And we're going to practice stabilizing the pelvis now. So imagine I put a block onto your sacrum like this, and without letting your hips twist, reach your right leg back behind you. Then send your left arm forward. Okay, now even though you're having to do stability actions, engaging your core, drawing energy up through your pelvic floor from your root chakra, still feel that all 4 sides of your pelvis could open. Now that's tricky because when we learn Bandha, we tend to grip and harden down on everything. But I want you to still feel and visualize water through your pelvis, flowing energy. So that's the element associated with the pelvic Swadhisthana. Slowly lower your hand and your knee down and change sides. Send your left leg back behind you. Then without twisting your ribs, send your right arm forward. So again, feel that you're evenly stretching your sit bones out of your lower back, draw up through the pelvic floor, but then visualize like water could move around in your pelvis. You haven't hardened. Slowly lower your hand and your knee. Inhale, change sides. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, change sides. Exhale, lower down. Then stretch back into downward facing dog. Stretch down evenly through your hands. Then put a little bend in your knees and adjust the pelvis so it feels like the sacrum is moving in with the length of the rest of the spine. You don't want the pelvis to be tucked like this to where the sacrum's popped out. Instead, tip the sit bones up, feel the sacrum move in, and let the spine lengthen. Even if you have to keep the knees bent the whole time you're holding in down dog for today, that's okay. Now root down through your toe mounds and see if you can start to stretch your legs by drawing the thighs up more, but still keeping the sacrum in. Walk your feet forward to the front of your mat. Inhale, make a flat back, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up to stand, raise your arms up. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart. All right, then take your feet hip distance apart and bring your hands to your pelvis. Then tip your pelvis into an anterior tilt. And then tip your pelvis the other way. Tuck your buns under. And then come right into neutral, where it feels like your pelvic floor is parallel with the floor, like we learned in yesterday's video. Now you should notice that when you do this, when your pelvic floor is parallel to the floor, if I show you from the side on my shorts, I have this slight downward angle of my waistband. So I don't want to take that away. When the pelvic floor is parallel to the floor, I have this little downward angle at the top of my pelvis. So allow for that. Then release your arms at your side and feel that when the pelvis is in this neutral position, how much more buoyant the spine feels. If, for example, I were to turn my feet out and let my buns tuck under, I feel that the spine starts to pull back and down. So we want to be able to recreate this in our neutral standing positions and in our neutral postures. Okay, inhale, raise your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, make a flat back, lengthen out your spine. Then step your left leg back into a lunge and lower your knee down. Bring your hands onto your right knee and slowly start to upright yourself. As your left shin descends, let your pelvis go into the neutral position again. Now when you have a leg swung back behind you, the pelvis will want to tip into the anterior tilt, the one that we started with where the butt stuck out too far. So just let the tailbone lengthen down until you feel the pelvic floor parallel again, if that's happening for you. Then send your left arm forward and raise your arm up. Reach down through your left shin as you reach up past your fingers. Draw the navel up to help to lengthen the lumbar. We'll focus more on that tomorrow. Don't worry yourself. Good, now hook your left elbow to your knee, but keep all that lift through the front of the pelvis. Notice if you lost any length, if you shrunk in the front of the pelvis, let the front of the pelvis stretch and open again towards your heart, and then join your palms together. So you're having to use your glute med, which you've learned about in the movement videos, for stability. The outer right hip is helping you so that you don't lean side to side, and it's helping you so you can lengthen your spine through the midline. But when you feel that outer hip turn on, it shouldn't close the energy in the pelvis. Because remember, the element is water. It should feel like there's nice flowing movement in the pelvis. Bring your hands back down, curl your back toes under, and lift your back knee up. Reach your heart forward. Then step back into plank pose. Chest open. Glide back into downward facing dog. Walk your feet forward to the front of your mat. Inhale, make a flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up, raise your arms up. Exhale, bring the hands to your heart. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. Step your right leg back into a lunge and lower your knee down. Bring your hands onto your left knee and start to upright yourself. So just feel if you're very tight in the front of your right hip and the front of the pelvis on the right side, it'll want to pull the butt up into your lower back. Tight front hip pulls the pelvis this way when you have the leg behind you. So let the tailbone lengthen down until it feels like the pelvic floor is parallel to the floor again. Never tuck your tailbone. That's an often misgiven instruction by yoga teachers. Don't tuck the pelvis. Just let the tail lengthen down until you find neutral. Then send your arm forward and slowly start to raise your arm up. Draw the navel up to help open through the front of the pelvis on that side. Feel that as the pelvis is in its neutral position, you feel buoyancy through the sacrum and lower back. Then hook your elbow to your knee, keeping all the lift through the front of the pelvis. Once the elbow hooks, open up again, like you're lengthening, opening through the right side front pelvis. Then join your palms together. Hold here for 5 breaths. Then bring your hands back down to the mat. Step back into plank pose. Curl your back toes under, lift your back knee and hold in the lunge for a breath. Come up onto your fingertips. Start to lengthen. And then step back into plank pose. Hold your chest open in plank. Slowly stretch back to down dog. Bring your feet together, roll to the outside edge of your left foot. Raise your right arm up. Stack your pelvis, balance your right hip on top of your left hip. Let your groins, your inner upper thighs release back so that your pelvis goes into neutral. As you lengthen the tail towards the heels, draw the energy up the spine. Stretch back to downward dog. Change sides, roll to the outside edge of your right foot. Take your left arm up. So the thighs will tend to want to sink forward. So roll the inner upper thighs, the groins back. And then as a counterbalance, lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. Draw the energy from the pelvic floor up towards your crown. Take the energy up the spine. And then slowly stretch back to downward facing dog. Inhale into plank pose. Lower all the way down onto your belly. Stretch your arms back behind you. Then lift your shoulders, head, chest up off the mat. And as you press the tops of the feet down, again, roll the inner thighs up to the ceiling and lengthen the tail towards your heels. Tendency is for the sides of the butt to want to dig in, which will engage glute max, which will tuck the pelvis and turn the thighs out. Instead, keep the thighs in neutral as you lengthen through your tail. And then draw up from your navel up towards your heart. So like almost like you're taking the energy from the sacrum, from the lower belly, you can draw it up into your chest and extract extra length through your spine there. Lower your chest back down, press up into plank pose, and stretch back to downward facing dog. Step your right foot up by your right thumb. Come up into crescent lunge. Then drop your arms to your side for a moment. And like in mountain, feel your pelvis go into neutral. Remember, when there's a leg behind you, your butt wants to swing back behind you. So as you stretch the back leg all the way straight, let the tail lengthen until it feels like the pelvic floor is parallel with the floor. Then take your arms forward and slowly start to raise your arms up without the lower back sinking forward. Keep the lower back tall as the arms go up. Left inner upper thigh releases back the groin, just like in the belly back bend a moment ago, and the tail lengthens towards the floor. Good, now drop your arms to your side, lean your chest out over your knee, and twist. Put your left hand down, take your right arm up. Bring your right hand down, step back into plank pose, chest open, hold in your plank. Glide straight back to down dog. Step your left foot up by your left thumb, come up into crescent. Inhale your arms up. Then drop your arms to your side and breathe the right leg all the way straight, even if you have to lift up out of the pose a little bit, that's okay. As the right leg straightens, you might feel that the lower back wants to compress, the butt wants to swing up into the lower back. Instead, let the tail lengthen down so that you feel a lift start to come through the front of your pelvis. You might even feel a deepening of stretch on the front of the right hip. Then take your arms forward, and as you plug the navel up towards your heart, raise your arms up. So you're converting the energy and drawing it up. At the same time, keep rooting through your feet. Oh yeah, your roots from yesterday. We want to still have a steady foundation. Then bring your arms down at your side and lean your chest out over your knee. Set your right hand down and twist. Take your left arm up. Bring your left hand back down and stretch back to downward facing dog. Shift into plank pose as you inhale. Lower slowly into plank on your forearm. Set one elbow down and then the other. Now roll onto the outside edge of your left foot. Take your right arm up. If you need to roll the left forearm in a little to protect your shoulder, that's fine. Come back to plank on your forearms and change sides. Roll to the outside edge of your right foot. Take your left arm up. Come back to plank on your forearms. Press up into plank on the hands. And then stretch back to down dog. Good, then walk your feet up to the front of your mat. Inhale, make a flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale into chair pose with the feet hip distance apart. Raise your arms up. Then as you exhale, drop your arms to your side. Sit back a little deeper into your chair. Keep your butt that low. Lift from the pelvis and raise your arms up through the front of the pelvis. Draw the skin from the front of the pelvis up towards your chest. And then fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale into chair pose, bend your knees, sit your hips back, arms up. Exhale, drop your arms to your side and sit back a little deeper. Stay that low. Now lift the skin up the front of the pelvis, lift your belly, inhale the arms back up. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. One more time, inhale into chair pose, bend your knees, sit your hips back, arms up. Exhale, arms to your side, sit back a little deeper into your chair. Now lift from the front of the pelvis, raise your arms up, inhale. Keep your arms up, come all the way up to stand. Release your arms at your side. Good, now feel your weight even into your right foot as you bring your left knee up to hip height. Bring your hands to prayer position. Put a micro bend in your right knee. Then start to tip from your pelvis. Aim the pelvic floor back towards the wall behind you as you reach your left leg back into Warrior Three. Then as you inhale, come back up, bring your knee up, raise your arms up. Exhale, hands to prayer, tip back into Warrior Three. Tip the pelvis so you can feel it's like you're trying to aim your pelvic floor back, crown of the head reaching forward. And come back up, bring your knee up, arms up. One more time, hands to prayer, tip back into Warrior Three. Good, then bring your knee up, arms up, hold here. Now bend your right knee and wrap your left leg up and over your right. Cross your left elbow under. Engage the legs, squeeze in with your legs, and draw from the skin of your belly up towards your chest. Now slowly start to lean your chest forward out over your knee, keeping a flat back. Uncross your left leg, reach it back into Warrior Three. Then bend your right knee and step back into Warrior One. Uncross your arms and reach up. Lift from your navel up to your chest. Bring your hands back to the mat. Step back to down dog or take a vinyasa. Lower slowly to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Bend your knees, look between your hands. Jump or step up to the front. Inhale, Ardha, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale into chair pose, bend your knees, sit your hips back, arms up. Exhale, arms to your side, sit back deeper into your chair. Stay that low. Inhale, lift through the front of the pelvis, arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale into chair pose, bend your knees, sit your hips back. Exhale, arms to the side, sit back deeper. Inhale, lift through the front of the pelvis, raise the arms up, but stay low at the hips. Now exhale, stand, come all the way up. Bring your hands to your heart. Good. Shift the weight into your left foot, bring your right knee up. Then put a little bend in your left knee and slowly start to tip back into Warrior Three. Tip from your pelvis so you can feel it's almost like you're trying to aim the pelvic floor straight back as the crown of the head reaches forward. Then slowly come back up, bring the knee up, raise the arms up. Then bring your hands to prayer, tip back into Warrior Three with control. Come back up, bring the knee up, arms up. Last one. Hands to prayer, tip back into Warrior Three. Come back up, knee up, arms up. Bend your left knee, wrap your right leg up and over. Cross your right elbow under your left. Hold here 5 breaths. Then slowly start to lean your chest out, keeping a flat back. Uncross your leg, reach back into warrior three, stay steady. Bend your left knee, step back into warrior one. Uncross your arms, lift from your navel, reach up, look up. Good, then bring your hands back to the mat. Step back to down dog or take a vinyasa. Lower slow to chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. From down dog, bend your knees, look forward. Step or float lightly up to the front of your mat. Inhale, Ardha. Exhale, fold. Inhale into chair pose, bend your knees, sit your hips back again. Then come all the way up to stand. Good. Now turn to your right and step your legs wide apart. We're going to do a few poses to open up the front of the pelvis, similar to what we did yesterday. Spread the arms out to the side. Turn the left toes in slightly, turn the right leg all the way out. Then bend your right knee, extended side angle pose. Place your hand down on the outside of the foot, block or floor, your call. Take your left arm all the way over your ear. Okay, since we're working our way higher up, drawing the energy from sacrum, navel, up the spine, first you have the pelvic floor, aim it straight towards your back and your ankle. So now we have the alignment of the root chakra. Next, now that you have the pelvic floor in its position, draw from the sacrum and the navel up the spine. The sacrum is the corresponding area in the back of the spine to where your navel is. And really when I say navel, I really mean a little below your navel, more in line with the frontal hip bones. So if you trace mentally or put your hand on your front hip bone and draw from the frontal hip bones in towards the center, that area, just below the navel there, draw in from the front and the back, and then draw up the spine towards your crown. But make sure that it's not all drawing up energy, because that'll make you hit a wall. You'll be like, I can't pull up anymore. At the same time, keep rooting down through your feet and connecting from the pelvic floor into your back foot. Then lift your navel, come back up to warrior two. Turn your feet to the other side. Bend your knee. Put your hand down on the outside of your foot and take your arm over your ear. So for some practitioners, physical instruction will help them to tune into the energy in their spine. For others, they'll hear something about it. They'll be more intuitive that way, like, oh, the color. If I can connect to the color of the chakra and its element, water, now I have a whole different understanding of that part of my body. I'm more in tune with the feeling. So whatever it is for you, hopefully as we're describing these different either energetic qualities or physical attributes, you'll become more in tune with how the movement's happening in your body. 3 more breaths here. For me, it was alignment first. When I learned about the alignment, then it opened me up to understand all the other stuff better. Come back up to warrior two. Straighten your leg. Turn your feet to the side for triangle pose. Left foot turns in a little, right leg turns all the way out. Then start to reach out over your right leg. So same idea, open the pelvic floor to the back and your ankle so that it aligns the pelvis, and then draw the energy up as you root down through the feet even. So we did all this balancing work and outer hip work to help so you could feel your outer hip muscles turn on. This should help you to get more in tune with the energy in the pelvis as we hold these standing poses now. And to be able to engage your bandhas a little bit better from your strong outer hips. Come back up, turn your feet to the other side. So one thing that I've found as a practitioner is that when my outer hips are working well, go ahead and reach out over your left leg, that naturally I can do Uddiyana Bandha better, which is the bandha of Swadhisthana, is how we're learning to move energy up the spine from the navel. And Uddiyana Bandha means flying upward. So you might feel that when your outer hips are working and you can feel that the pelvic energy is drawing up, it's almost a sense like you feel light in the pose. That's kind of cool, instead of like hunched over, hanging into the pose. And we can look for that each time we're doing a standing pose. Inhale, come back up. Turn your left toes in so your feet are parallel. Hands on your hips. Roll your shoulders back and inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Put your fingertips down. Inhale, make a flat back, lengthen. Exhale, walk your hands back, let your head drop down. Let the back of the skull release towards the floor. Then inhale into a flat back. Exhale, come all the way up to stand. Turn your left foot out and step up to the front of your mat. Inhale, raise your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step back into dog or take a vinyasa. Then set your knees down onto the mat. Take the feet wide enough for the hips to fit in between and put a block on the inside of your heels. We're using this block on the medium height. You might not need a medium height. You might only need a flat height, but we'll see what you need for Virasana, hero's pose. Sit back in between your heels. All right, cool. So in this position, bring one hand onto your sacrum and the other hand onto your lower belly. And feel that the sacrum is upright. When the sacrum is upright, your sit bones should be aiming straight down into what you're seated on. So if you go too low for how mobile your hips are, for what your hips will allow, if you go past that, your buns will tuck under. So that's the most common one I see when people try to sit flat, is that they're tucked under. Very few practitioners have the mobility where they can sit all the way flat and still get the sacrum upright. So just take a moment to feel that, and then twist to your right. Bring your left hand to the outside of your knee, right fingertips behind you. Now when you twist, you should still be able to keep this upright quality of the sacrum low back. So the pelvis is teaching the spine what to do. Root chakra, pelvic floor from yesterday, is open up and parallel to the floor. Then the sacrum is allowing energy to travel up through its positioning. Twist to the other side. Now as you're twisting, it might feel like the pelvis wants to almost shrink on itself. So instead, feel the quality of water, that there is fluidity in the pelvis. Root chakra, of course, being earth as the element, it allows us to connect. So still feel what's on the earth, let it connect. Let the sit bones connect. And then just above, feel the fluidity of the pelvis. Come back to center. Then walk your hands back a foot behind you and lift your buttock up a little bit. And now tuck the buttocks slightly towards the backs of the knees, and then let the buns sit back down a little. Okay, so that's just getting it so that the pelvis is now matching the angle of the spine, so that we're not crushing into the lower back. Now we're going to use this stretch through the front of the hips to help to open the chest. And we're going to use the same technique again when we get to the heart chakra. I don't want to get ahead of myself though. Okay, so lift your hips up. And as you reach down through the quads into the knees, visualize from right here, from the inside of the front hip bones, that you're drawing in towards the navel and up towards your heart. And at the same time, the tailbone releases out of the lower back so that the sacrum goes into its neutral position. Then roll the shoulders back from there. Draw from the front of the pelvis into the chest. Great job. Lower your buns back down. And then sit up straight. Good. Just feel the energy of that pose for a moment. So much of our practice is just done rushing from one pose to another. So just take a moment to feel the effects of the pose. And then take Balasana. Or actually, let's do Adho Mukha Virasana. So keep your feet in this position and then put your hands onto your feet and start to fold forward. Some might be able to put the head all the way flat on the ground. You might want to lose the block under your butt now, but if you like, you could just keep one block under the butt, one block under the head, whatever works for you. So this pose and Apanasana are more characteristic of root chakra expressions, helping to ground us. But we're going to use that grounding after we start to mobilize some Swadhisthana energy. Come back up. Good. Then sit with your legs stretched straight out in front of you in Dandasana. All right, then take the soles of the feet together, the knees wide apart, Baddha Konasana. Sit tall for 5 breaths. And as you're seated in Baddha Konasana, allow the pelvic floor to open. Allow for a fluid feeling in your pelvis. And then visualize like you had the hand on the sacrum and navel again, helping you to upright yourself. Then lie down onto your back. And for the final pose, take ankle to knee pose. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. Gently bring your left knee towards your chest. You can either hold the back of the leg or the shin. Change the cross. And slowly bring your right knee in towards you. Then uncross your legs and prepare for Shavasana. Stretch the legs out, turn the palms up at your side. Let the feet fall open. Then shift your awareness into your pelvis and visualize like an energetic orb, like you're breathing into the pelvis and allowing the orb of energy of the pelvis to expand. Allow yourself to let go of any stuck energy in the pelvis for it to be able to move, change, and transform. So we can tend to hold a lot of energy in this area. Because of societal pressures, we may feel like we're not allowed to have emotional reactions, or we have to try to control ourselves, always stay in control. So all this pent-up frustration can be held in this area. Of course, there's the whole trip with our sensual energy and not allowing that to be able to be expressed. So the transformational energy is forgiveness and acceptance. Let it go. And exhalation is symbolic of letting go. So exhale into the pelvis to let go. And as you breathe back into the energetic orb we are visualizing, allow fresh energy, movement to transform and open. Then gently bend your knees. And roll over to your right side. And press yourself up to seated. All right, so sit up tall. So another important element of this chakra to consider is just our understanding through how we were raised and societal pressures on our sexuality. So a lot of pent up sexual energy gets trapped in this chakra. And so when you move, you might, or when we were doing the final meditation, you might have felt things coming up, emotions, whatever. That's all okay, that's all normal to your yoga practice. And just allow that stuff to be there, breathe through that, don't try to push it down. When you feel this stuff coming up as you're identifying these things in the chakras, just be there, be with it, breathe it through your body, accept that it's there. This will help you to be able to process it. Of course, I'm not a therapist. As these things come up, you can talk to a professional about them, I encourage, but from a yoga standpoint, just pushing it down will just continue to exaggerate whatever block and frozen energy was already there and stay stuck. So we want to be able to move that energy in the body. Thanks for watching today. I hope you've been enjoying the series so far, and we'll see you tomorrow.